From awaytogarden.com and robinhoodradio.com, this is A Way to Garden with Margaret Roach, your weekly invitation to dig in and grow.
Home cooking is making a comeback, writes environmental activist, documentary producer, and cookbook author Laurie David. And I hope that's as true in your household as it is in mine. One of the least expected but most beneficial side effects of my departure 6 or so years ago from my city and corporate rat race lifestyle for life in my rural garden is that most days I prepare 3 meals for myself. On so many levels, that old-fashioned and pretty simple act has been a game changer for me. In Laurie David's latest book, The Family Cooks, and in the recently released film Fed Up, which she co-produced with Katie Couric, the message is clear, and it's summed up in this sentence from Couric's foreword to David's new cookbook. The single most powerful thing anyone can do to protect their health, live a healthy life, and to have a healthy future is to go into their own kitchen and cook for themselves. Laurie joins us today to talk about some of the compelling reasons to get cooking and also to give us some delicious, fun, and tactical advice for doing just that. And it is so nice to have you here, Laurie, all the way from Southern California. How are you?
Margaret, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How does your garden grow? I guess you're a farmer now, huh?
I am a farmer, and I'm actually on the East Coast in my farm. I spent a couple hours in the garden today weeding, and we planted about 3,000 sweet potato slips here.
I thought you were out west.
I am on the East Coast.
Oh, you good girl. Good for you. It's nice here. We're having a little rain in my area.
I know.
Nice.
I hope it's coming this way because we need it.
I know we do. So you've been doing sweet potato slips.
I've been doing sweet potato slips, and I've been picking salad, lettuce, and kale every day, and coming home just like you said, and making a beautiful salad for lunch. And it's just it's the most rewarding thing you could do is grow your own food.
The connection is so good, and not to mention the flavor. I have pea pods. I'm so excited the peas are producing now. Oof, it's a good time of year.
I know, it's fantastic. First, strawberries, too. Do you have strawberries yet?
Yes, and a friend of mine who grows them, she brought me some yesterday, and I probably started to cry. They tasted so good.
I had about 6 ripe strawberries, and they all had little tiny bites out of them, so there's actually a bunny getting to them. So I took them into the house, and I cut the bites off,
I know,
and chopped them up and ate them, and they were fantastic.
Here it's the chipmunks who like the strawberries. So as a scene setter, I thought, you have a long history as an environmental advocate, and, you produced or executive produced, I'm not good with the Hollywood lingo sometimes, An Inconvenient Truth, a very important documentary. And so a little bit about kind of how did this new book, The Family Cooks, and of course the new documentary, Fed Up, how does this all sort of converge now?
Well, I'm so happy that the book came out the same time as the movie.
Me too.
Because the book is the solution. And it's really, it's like what you said in the introduction. My motto is cook or be cooked.
Oh.
And that's what it really comes down to, because if you don't make the food yourself, you do not know what's in it.
Yeah.
And, we're outsourcing this job to strangers and corporations. And trust me, they do not have the health of you or your family at the top of their mind. They just want to sell products.
Well, you make this point early on in the book, The Family Cooks. You say, our modern industrialized world has been fed by food scientists more than by chefs.
Right.
And that kind of gave me, even though I know this sort of, that gave me a chill. We've been fed by scientists.
Right. Exactly. And it's chemically formulated, the food, if it's packaged, to addict you.
Right.
And this, to me, is, this is where the two things converge, because Fed Up is a documentary that's out on 80 screens across the country right now. And, it's about what we've all been eating and why it's making everybody so sick. So that's the problem, is that the food is making people sick. And it's diabetes, obesity, all these metabolic diseases are all connected to what we're eating. And it's a problem of the last 30 years. So it's not,
Right.
our genetics haven't changed in 30 years. Something else has, and it's the food we're eating.
Well, and you say in the book also, I mean, there's so many great one-liners, by the way, Missy.
Thank you.
It was so well done, and it's such and before everyone thinks like, oh my goodness, it sounds like a really heavy book, and oh, it's too depressing. It's not. As you say, the book's the solution, and it's so beautiful. You have photography by the very talented Quentin Bacon, and beautiful. It's so positive and full of smiles, and
I think, what,
yeah.
one of the things that I love about this cookbook, and it's the second cookbook that Kirsten Uhrenholt and I have done together, and she's the chef. She's a family chef, not a restaurant chef, and I think there's a big distinction.
And not a scientist.
And not a scientist, exactly. And she learned how to cook from her ma and grandma in Denmark. And just her descriptions of these recipes just make you want to do them. It's inspiring. You can do them. It's simple. And every recipe has, five ingredients or less. They're very easy and simple. And I consider myself an average cook, and I figure if I can do the recipe and I can serve this food and love it, then anyone can. So she comes up with the recipes, I test them, and then I give them to my teenage daughters to test them. Because this is a great book if you have college students or anybody who's just starting to cook for the first time, or for your own kids, because that's a big theme behind this book, is that we have to get our kids back into the kitchen.
Yeah.
We have to teach them these skills. This is how they're going to learn how to eat well, and when we send them off on graduation to start their own lives, they will have the skills to have a healthy life.
I read that you had a personal victory on that score, in that one of your children, after, I guess, freshman year in college not long ago, decided that forget about the food at the school cafeteria. She was going to get her own place and cook. Yeah,
I couldn't believe it, honestly, because this was my one daughter who never participated in the process, who always came to dinner, of course, and enjoyed the food, but she never had any interest at all in the process, so she got stuck with setting the table a lot. But here she is at college in one of the worst food environments a kid can be in, which makes no sense whatsoever in college. And she said, I cannot eat this food, Mom. I have to start cooking myself. So she and a girlfriend got an apartment, and now they're Instagramming the pictures all the time of the things they're making, and I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, no, that's a big victory and an inspiration. To double back a minute to the sugar thing, one of the other sentences in the book that struck me was about how sugar, which like 30 years ago was a condiment, is now a main ingredient, right?
Right. Well, there's a few things like that, too. I would say cheese also used to be something that you would serve, before dinner with cocktails, and now it's an ingredient that's added to everything that we eat, which is crazy. But sugar also, and this is one of the big reveals in Fed Up, just how much sugar we're all consuming without knowing it.
Right.
So if you're having dessert or you eat ice cream a lot, you're having a lot of sugar, but you may not realize how much sugar you're consuming when you buy store-bought spaghetti sauce or fruit yogurts, which are marketed as a breakfast food, which is really a dessert. I mean, it's insane how much.
Which have like 8 teaspoons of sugar in them.
It's crazy. I mean, that's the thing. When you see Fed Up, you will never shop the same way again.
Well, and so if you have a little bottle of store-bought apple juice and a fruit yogurt, you may be having 16 or 18 teaspoons of sugar for breakfast.
You're seriously already over the maximum that you should be having in the course of a day.
Right.
So the maximum, is for an adult woman is like 6 to 7 teaspoons of sugar, and for a kid it's 3 to 4. Well, if you're having a sugary bowl of cereal and a big glass of orange juice, you'll already be over. Most people are consuming 22 teaspoons a day.
Right, and it's not, when we say sugar, and this is another great thing that The Family Cooks points out, and the movie I'm sure points out as well, is that it comes in many pseudonyms. It's not just sugar. And it's not just sugar and high fructose corn syrup, which is the one that a lot of people have heard, oh gosh, I've got to look for that on the label. There's a lot of other names for sugar.
There's over 56 names for sugar.
Right.
And sometimes a label will use many of them.
Right.
So you might see the word sugar, but then you'll see barley malt, and you'll see lactose, and you'll see honey, or it's crazy. And why are there so many names for sugar? I think it's a way for the food industry to confuse the customer and the consumer, and I think it's working. The other problem is that sugar on food is always measured by grams. And I cook. I don't know what the heck a gram is. Nobody knows what a gram is. 4 grams equal 1 teaspoon. So now you have to do this math lesson while you're, rushing through the store trying to get home in time to make dinner, and it's purposeful.
It's
and
obtuse, right? It's purposefully obtuse, right?
And that's the thing that gets me fed up. Is this stuff that's purposeful, like calling something all natural, which means nothing.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I was just going to say that another sort of, speaking of the words for things like 56 words for sugar, there's also a glossary in the front of the new cookbook of the labels that really aren't very helpful, like natural, which has no meaning.
Right, nothing.
Total euphemism and misleading.
Right.
Or made with real fruit.
Yep.
Which, what the heck does that mean? Not a regulated term, I don't think. Doesn't really mean anything. Or even things that say no antibiotics used or no hormones added aren't necessarily the pure things that they sound like.
But this goes back to the original point, which is cook real food yourself.
So let's do that. Let's talk about some of and there's such great recipes in this book. For instance, even for breakfast, I'm a pretty healthy eater because I've been a vegetarian for like 35, 40 years, and so I've been kind of growing my own and eating, and it was my thing. It was like I had a hippie spirit trapped in a corporate girl's body on the 35th floor of a skyscraper in New York City, and so I've been interested.
I'm so glad you got out, Margaret.
I'm an escapee.
Thank goodness.
I feel like I'm an educated consumer, but even I get confused and overwhelmed and misled. But anyway, there's a great breakfast idea in here that it never occurred to me, even though I'm a great user of oatmeal.
Really? Which one?
It's the summer oatmeal.
Yes.
The fresh, fruity summer porridge. So tell me about that, because that's like it's a no-brainer. But it's a not total aha at the same time, because I never thought of not having to cook oatmeal, but that I could make it sort of overnight in the fridge.
Right. And all you need are these glass ball jars. Do you use glass ball jars for everything?
For everything.
Yeah, so do we. So
my whole
just
life.
Love it. And so you just have a glass ball jar, and you make this concoction, and you put it in the fridge, and you have it the next morning. And it's delicious and has fresh fruit in it. The ingredients are probably mostly, other than the fruit, in your cupboard. And it's a delicious breakfast, because the thing is, we have to rethink breakfast.
Right.
We cannot continue to give kids cereal and orange juice, or ourselves. And that was one of the things, that I finally gave up, because once I started to learn a little bit about what actually was in cereal, how little nutrition it actually has, I stopped eating it. But, I missed that crunch. So that actually was a little hard for me to give up, and that's one of the reasons why we have this Seeds of Power granola in the cookbook
That's
also.
That's a beautiful one, too.
And
yes.
This is it is so easy to make your own granola. I mean, that sounds almost difficult, but it's not. It's super easy. You make a ton at once, and it's 100 times healthier than anything you get in the store.
Right.
Much less sugar. You can play with it by adding chia seeds and hemp and, all that kind of stuff. Super easy to make. Do this with your kids. What a great thing to do with your kids. What a great lesson to teach them, that they don't have to buy this stuff pre-made, store-bought. They can make their own. And then you have this in a big glass ball jar or a big glass cookie jar on your counter for weeks. And
right.
you eat it with
right.
yogurt if you like that, plain yogurt, or with almond milk, which is how I like it. We have to rethink breakfast, so we definitely have to do new things for breakfast. And here's just one quick little tip, which I love to do, which is on Sunday, hard boil a dozen eggs.
Yes.
And just have them in your fridge ready to go.
Yes, what I tend to do is I make on Sundays a pot of rice, of brown rice, and I also make a bunch of hard-boiled eggs. And sometimes I end up making egg salad one day, and sometimes I just have whatever, but it's there. And when I need something, it's there.
Well, the last page of the cookbook is this page called Home Cooked Sundays. And it's our parting gift to everybody, which is everybody has to look at Sundays as the beginning of their week, and this is the day when you actually do have time to cook if you're too busy during the week. And it will help you, if you get organized on Sundays, it'll help guarantee that you're going to have a healthy week, that you can grab things from your fridge during the week when you're too busy instead of going to takeout or fast food. And there's all kinds of great tips about how to set up your refrigerator for the week. And cooking brown rice is what you do. I always cook a cup or two of quinoa. That's in my fridge. We have this great recipe for refrigerator lentils, which I love.
That's a good one, too.
You make those. You can toss those on salad. You could add those to soups. You could eat them as a side dish. I mean, they're fantastic, and that's a great protein. And a whole host of other tips. But Sunday's a key day, don't you think, to being organized for the week?
It is, because it's not an errand day. I feel like Saturday can be sometimes the transition day when you need to maybe do some errands or whatever. But Sunday, I really like to make sure I get some of my key foods ready for the week.
I even pick or buy kale or go to the farmer's market and get it, and clean, strip, chop, massage oil into it sometimes, and have chopped kale ready to go in my refrigerator. And that allows you, say Monday night you come home and it's too late. All you have to do is scramble up some eggs and toss kale in it and salt and pepper, and that's a great dinner. You
have a recipe, or I guess it's more of a technique, but sort of a recipe called kneaded, not N-E-E-D-E-D, if people, K-N-E-A-D-E-D, kale, kneaded kale. And I thought, wow, what a good idea. So you just kind of described that, but tell us a little more about that.
So you haven't been doing that?
I don't. I could eat. I'm like a ruminant, like an animal. I can digest anything in the most fibrous state because of the so many years that I've been living on, grains and beans and vegetables. So I don't, but it made sense to me because a lot of people kind of look at the way that I'll toss it in and practically mid-ribs and all, and they look at me like, oh my goodness, you're going to eat that? Right. So tell us how that works,
okay,
the kneaded kale.
There's all different, I eat kale every version and every way, and I grow it, and it grows all winter long on the East Coast, believe it or not. We had kale through snow, popping out of the snow. It's a really fun thing to grow. But the kneaded kale is just a way of preparing it for salads or for any way you want to cook it, which is you chop it up, you clean it, chop it up, take the ribs out, and then you do about a teaspoon of oil per bunch, per handful, and then you massage it like 15 to 20 times as if you're, rub it into all the leaves. And what it does, it just kind of softens the kale up.
Right.
And people say it makes it more digestible, but it's also just another way of having the kale. And then you can put that in a glass ball jar. You can serve it the next night for dinner with pine nuts or sunflower seeds on top of it, or nothing. Or you can toss that into eggs. You can saute it. It's already got the olive oil in it, and it's fantastic.
Delicious. It sounds delicious, and it's very smart. You grow shiitakes, mushrooms?
We do.
And so you have this recipe called a bacon SB, or an SB in
it's
quote
a
marks,
BLT, but without the bacon.
With no B.
And the shiitakes are the bacon. And it's really something, but you can saute shiitakes, and I swear they taste like meat.
And so it like you do them you take the stems off and you do them in the oven like on a roasting pan with a little tamari and olive oil and salt or whatever, and they really taste like bacon, huh? They
taste fantastic. And by the way, anything roasted in a pan with a little olive oil and salt. I mean, are you starting to see a theme here? We have popcorn. We have cauliflower popcorn.
Yes.
That's made the same way, really. And, slice up some broccoli. And I cannot tell you how my kids, when I make cauliflower popcorn, we take it out of the oven, put it on top of the stove. It doesn't even make it to the kitchen table. Because everybody's like walking past the stove eating it. It is so delicious, and kids love it. And, well-made vegetables, prepared smartly, your kids are going to love.
So there's a good way related to the cauliflower you just talked about. There's also a really interesting way of preparing cauliflower and broccoli for roasting, which is that you sliver it. So it almost looks like they're slivers that are the shape of a tree, like a silhouette of a tree, each one, and lay them on the pan with the oil and salt. And that's great because sometimes, of course, you get the florets and the stem portion is 1/4 as thick as the head portion, and it cooks at a different speed.
Right, but here's a news flash, and I'm wondering if you know about this, Margaret, because if you don't, I'm going to be really excited to turn you on to this. But if you peel the stem of the broccoli,
yes,
and slice it thin, a little lemon and salt, it is so fantastic raw.
Yes.
Have you been eating that?
I actually cook it. I've always cooked it, and I peel a little bit.
Do you eat it raw?
You know, I don't. But
Okay, come on.
So,
come on. You got to give it to me.
I'm going home tonight to eat the broccoli.
You have to try it. Peel it,
Yep.
slice it thin,
Yep.
and lemon, salt, and pepper.
Okay.
You will not be able to stop eating it.
And isn't it amazing how many households in America, that if they do buy the broccoli, I'm sure they get rid of the stem.
Well, up until 2 years ago, I was doing the same thing.
Yes, because
or I might
we
save
didn't
it,
know.
I might save it in a pot for soup
To make stock, right?
And that's a cute tip too. That's one of Kirsten's ideas that's in the book. Is that you keep a big jar in your fridge, and when you're making dinner and you have a little leftover of this and a little leftover the ends of the carrots or a head of the onion or whatever, throw it into a big glass jar and just start collecting stuff so that you have your makings for soup at the end of the week. Just toss it all in and make a pot of soup out of it.
Right. I love the chicks and noodle soup. Ha ha ha. No chicken in that. So what are the chicks?
The chicks are the chickpeas, right?
Yeah.
I have to find the recipe to refresh myself, but the chicks are the chickpeas. And chickpeas is another really just, I think, genius ingredient. And again, you can, if you can find the BPA-free cans and just have garbanzo beans in your cupboard, you can make anything out of them. You can make your own hummus. You can toss them into salads. They're just a great source of protein. I just love chickpeas.
Me too. And I was also, another thing that I didn't do besides eat the raw stems of broccoli after peeling them and tossing them in lemon and and salt, when I slice my delicata squash and roast it, which I do, I have cored it usually first. I've taken the seeds out, and you show it in the book, I think with a farro salad or something, but you show it, you leave the seeds in.
Okay, so this is the brainchild of Daniel Klein, who's from the Perennial Plate. And if your listeners have never gone to their website, he's a chef who's a filmmaker. So he is doing like 10 to 12-minute short films about food, sustainability. They've traveled all over the world. Their films are incredible. And he's one of my favorites. His name's, it's called The Perennial Plate.
Yes.
And this is his recipe, and he taught me how to do that. All this time, I didn't know, first of all, that you can eat the skin of the delicata, which is fantastic. Look how easy this and quick this makes this to make. And the seeds get crunchy and delicious. And he just slices it thin and puts it in a pan and roasts it like everything else, and it is fantastic.
We only have a minute or two left, and of course I'm extremely hungry. I want to just take the last minute or two. Tell us about, you said that the new documentary Fed Up is in like 80 theaters right now, and I see that it's maybe pre-orderable on certain streaming services.
I'm just starting to
see
see that on iTunes you can pre-order it. I know the DVD will be out in the fall, but right now it's in theaters, and I urge everybody, before they take another bite, to go see Fed Up. And take your kid, if you have kids age 9 or 10 and up, I would take your kids with you. I would take anyone you love with you to see it. And it's so important to go to the theaters when a movie comes out, because the more people that do that, the more theaters it goes into.
So it helps to kind of make it go viral, so to speak.
Exactly. It helps to, get this movie in other parts of the country.
Right.
So it's really important to go see a doc when it comes out. And this is a movie that really, even if you think you know a lot about food, you are going to learn things in this film. You're going to be blown away by certain aspects of this movie and some of the things that we reveal. It really is. It kind of unravels, like a mystery. It's really good, and it took 3 years to make. Katie Kirk executive produced it with me. She's incredibly passionate about it. And Stephanie Sotig is the director, and I think she did a beautiful job. And I just urge everybody to go see it.
Well, I'm going to put the trailer on the accompanying piece on awaytogarden.com that goes with this. We're going to have a book giveaway for the family cooks, of course. Lori David, LoriDavid.com or FedUpMovie.com, or the family cooksbook.com is where you can look for more information. Lori, thank you so much. Good to speak to you.
Margaret, I look forward to having dinner together sometime.
Okay, now that I know which coast you're on these days. And I look forward to hearing from all of the rest of you again soon. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next week.
Away to Garden with Margaret Roach is a joint production of awaytogarden.com and the smallest NPR station in the nation, Robin Hood Radio.